Blanche then asked Cohen to listen to audio from the podcast referring to MeidasTouch's Mea Culpa, which Cohen, the judge, the lawyers, and Trump all put on headphones to hear. So the MeidasTouch website was mentioned multiple times today during Donald Trump's Manhattan trial, where he's facing 34 counts of falsifying business records. And if you watch MeidasTouch a lot, you probably already know that Michael Cohen has a podcast named Mea Culpa. He also has a podcast named Political Beatdown with Ben Meiselas, and multiple times during Michael Cohen's cross-examination today, they visited the MeidasTouch merchandise store, and they also had to listen to Michael Cohen's podcast with MeidasTouch. So it was a uniquely historical day, as Ben Meiselas said. Watch this clip.
Here I am on this network having you, the former number 2 at the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, lead our coverage of this case while the company that we created is being mentioned on cross-exam with the merch that we have to Michael Cohen, as Trump's lawyers are misstating that our merch is Cohen's merch. And it's a unique historical moment.
And before we dig into the details of what happened today, I just want to build on what Ben was saying there. The mainstream media actually reported this completely wrong. Trump's lawyers were claiming that all of the merchandise they were showing in court was from the Mea Culpa website, when it was actually from the MeidasTouch store. And it wasn't just a single news outlet. This is what Ari Melber said.
Other items that Cohen sells through his company were also admitted into evidence.
And in response, MeidasTouch said, "Dear Ari, this is not Michael Cohen's company. These other items are not products being sold by Michael Cohen. These are MeidasTouch products and have nothing to do with Michael Cohen." They also tagged CNN. Michael Cohen does not sell these items on his website. They tagged Perry Stein from the Washington Post. Michael Cohen does not sell this merch. This merch is sold by us at MeidasTouch. Even Reuters. These are not for sale on Michael Cohen's website. These are products sold by MeidasTouch. I just thought that was interesting, but let's talk about Donald Trump's lawyer, Todd Blanche's spicy cross-examination of Michael Cohen today. Blanche confirmed that him and Michael Cohen had never spoken, but asked Cohen whether he knew who he was already, since Cohen went on TikTok and called me a crying little shit just before the trial began. Sounds like something I would say, responded Cohen, Trump's former lawyer and fixer. And apparently this interaction really set the tone for the entire line of questioning, because they were just trying to pin Michael Cohen on some of his previous statements. So Blanche's opening question was just the first in a series of colorful quotes from Cohen that Blanche raised to jurors to try to paint Cohen as someone who hated Trump and who was hell-bent on getting revenge while making money off of the former president. And CNN reports that Blanche had plenty of material to work with. Cohen has written 2 books, Disloyal and Revenge, and has recorded hundreds of podcasts confirming he mentions Trump in every episode of Mea Culpa, which is the MeidasTouch run podcast. Regarding Cohen's first podcast in 2020, Blanche asked whether he called Trump a boorish cartoon misogynist. Honestly, true words. Sounds like something I would say, Cohen responded again. Blanche then asked whether Cohen called Trump a Cheeto-dusted cartoon villain right in front of Trump. This is brutal. That also sounds like something that I said, Cohen said. Blanche fired more lines at Cohen, asking whether he said on his podcast in 2020, "I truly effing hope Donald Trump ends up in prison." Sounds more like my language on Mea Culpa, Cohen responded. Cohen then asked Trump to listen to audio from the podcast, MeidasTouch's Mea Culpa, which Cohen, the judge, the lawyers, and Trump all put on headphones to hear. Again, this entire line of questioning is meant to just plant a seed of doubt in the juror's head about whether or not Michael Cohen's allegations are credible, or whether he's basing them off of some revenge journey he's going on. The article continues, Trump's former fixer, Michael Cohen, kept his measured manner for the more than 2 hours of questioning from Blanche. Trump, meanwhile, rarely engaged with Cohen's testimony. He turned to Cohen initially when Blanche began, but spent most of the time with his eyes closed, appearing to zone out with his mouth hanging open at some points. Occasionally, Trump would look in Cohen's direction, craning his neck at one point when Cohen was asked whether he lied to special counsel Robert Mueller's office in 2018. And here's where the MeidasTouch merchandise comes into play. So before he concluded his initial testimony prior to the break, Cohen shared how he makes money now that said he's served prison time and has been disbarred as a lawyer. Cohen said he's working now predominantly in media and entertainment, specifically on 2 podcasts where he's frequently critical of Trump. Cohen tried to downplay his show's outsized focus on Trump, testifying that Mea Culpa and another one he hosts on the liberal MeidasTouch network talked about the news of the day. Among other topics, do you frequently discuss Mr. Trump? Prosecutor Hoffinger asked. I do, he says, his eyes shifting around. Hoffinger also asked Cohen about the 2 books he wrote, Disloyal, which he described as a memoir he wrote in prison, and Revenge, which he said was about the weaponization of the Justice Department against a critic of the president, referring to himself. She also asked him about the merchandise he sells, while most are about him, but said there is one that is reflective of Mr. Trump. Another interesting aspect of this trial is that we're seeing Donald Trump test out some of his potential VP candidates. Last week we saw Florida Senator Rick Scott. On Monday we saw Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, but Tuesday saw the biggest group of politicians and at least one potential VP candidate make the trek up to the 15th floor of the Manhattan courthouse to show their support of Trump. The list included Trump's one-time presidential rival turned VP hopeful, North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, along with House Speaker Mike Johnson, Florida Reps Byron Donalds and Corey Mills, and former presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. All were seated behind Trump for much of the day except for Johnson, who appeared in the hallway with Trump for his morning news conference but did not go inside the courtroom. But of course, they all had time for media appearances so they could talk about the entire trial being a witch hunt and then talk about closing the border or whatever Trumpian language they want to use. But Speaker of the House Mike Johnson did say something about him, Jim Jordan, and James Comer working to rein in the abuses of Jack Smith. I don't think Mike Johnson has any control over Jack Smith, but play this clip.
I'm working with Chairman Jordan of the House Judiciary Committee, Chairman Comer of our Oversight Committee, on measures to rein in the abuses of Special Counsel Jack Smith.
The funny thing is, they already tried this and found nothing. From the House Judiciary website, Chairman Jordan launched his inquiry into alleged prosecutorial abuses by Office of Special Counsel Jack Smith. And this was on September 7th of 2023 of last year. They came up with absolutely nothing, so now they just talk about it and imply that there's something up there when they really can't connect the dots on paper. But my name is Adam Mockler. If you like these quick news videos, make sure to leave a like, comment a blue heart, hit that subscribe button, and have a great night, everyone.